the Rafah border crossing between Gaza and Egypt has opened for the first time in nearly 9 months. Gaza's Hamas-run health ministry said 50 sick and wounded children were among the first to head to Egypt to receive medical treatment. Israel's retaliation for the October 7th terror attacks has put most of Gaza's hospitals out of operation, creating a dire situation for those in need of medical care.
Mai Samur has been waiting here at the Rafah crossing for 3 months. Her son has a rare disease that only affects 1 in 5 million people. He suffers severe pain and lack of movement. After the long wait, Mai is relieved that her son is in the first group allowed to leave Gaza for treatment.
We've been waiting for 2 months for this transfer and for the crossing to open. Thank God they contacted us yesterday. They said we're going to Egypt. We hope that he'll improve and receive treatment after suffering for 3 months now.
This intolerable wait to receive treatment for their sick children is a fate shared by most here today. I will accompany my son Mohammed, who suffers from a tumor in the bladder. According to doctors, this tumor is very rare for children to get, and he needs regular follow-ups. The transfer request was made more than 8 months ago and was rejected by the Israeli side. But along with the hope of finally receiving treatment for their sick children comes the fear that Israel might not let them return home once they've left. I asked my wife to read entirely through any paper she signs and not to sign it if it says she can't return. It's assumed that there would be no such conditions, but I read that there is no obligation for the occupation to return travelers. This needs to be solved. If the ceasefire agreement proceeds as planned, the children allowed out now will be just the first batch of regular evacuations of Palestinians to receive treatment abroad.
Let's cross over now to Laura Blumenfeld, a Middle East analyst at Johns Hopkins University, currently in Palm Beach, Florida. So very good to have you with us. Let me start with asking, thousands of sick and injured Palestinians have been waiting for almost 9 months to evacuate into Egypt via the Rafah crossing for medical care. Today, the crossing opened. Why has it taken so long?
Well, that's right. It's about an estimated 12,000 are in need of evacuation. And I would say today's 50 are a trickle in a class 5 rapid river of need. The war has made it all but impossible to keep that crossing open. Today marks another first, by the way, aside for the cheers and the tears, if not of joy, then at least relief. The other first thing that happened today is the Palestinian Authorities return to that crossing. Until now, first Hamas controlled the crossing, where Israelis had charged that weapons were being smuggled across, and the cement that built the tunnels and other armaments, which the Hamas used to terrorize Israelis. But Israel seized that crossing back in May. And today we saw for the first time cooperation between the Israelis, the Egyptians, and the Palestinian Authority was on site stamping passports. So it does offer some hope looking forward. It's almost like a pilot, a test for future cooperation, hopefully in the rebuilding of Gaza.
So you mentioned collaboration there between the different factions, but some of these Palestinians with sick children going into Egypt, we also heard it in the report just now, they're concerned that they won't be allowed to return to Gaza. Are their concerns valid?
Yeah, concerns all around. Look, it's a time of great anxiety and uncertainty. Are folks being trapped in Gaza? Are they being transferred out of Gaza? Question marks hanging over the region. The other sad thing about today, opening up that crossing, as it was stipulated in the ceasefire negotiations between Israel and Hamas, that signaled that the last living women hostages, the Israelis who are being held there in Gaza against their will, have now all been returned, which is kind of an indirect confirmation that Shiri Bibas and her 2 young children, those babies that were kidnapped from Israel back on October 7th, are almost certainly been murdered in Gaza. So again, everything is kind of mixed here. We're going to take, the good with the bad, because that's the only way we can find our way forward.
Now, a number of Arab nations on Saturday rejected US President Donald Trump's suggestion to relocate Palestinians from Gaza to neighboring Egypt and Jordan. Now, is that idea a non-starter or a real possibility?
Well, you know, Donald Trump has a very simplistic approach to real estate. He's looking at this like he says it's a demolition site and we've got to find housing for the Palestinians. It's not clear whether he means permanently or temporarily while they rebuild Gaza. But what's clear is that it's a very complex situation far beyond a simple real estate. You know, in the Middle East, land isn't simply dirt. There's the sense of the Holy Land. There's the sense that the ground actually can have a soul. I remember sitting down with a leader of Hamas, Mahmoud Zuhur, in Gaza years ago. And I once said to him, why would you oppose a two-state solution? Why not divide the land? And he looked at me in horror and he said, asking me to divide Palestine, to chop it in two, is like chopping off a woman's arm, a woman's leg. We can't divide Holy Land. So part of it, I think, is a non-starter because of the mindset in the region. It's far beyond just, you know, you get a job in Toledo, you move to Philadelphia. There isn't that same kind of idea of just practicality. There's tremendous emotional resonance to territory.
Mm-hmm. Now, since the start of the ceasefire, we have seen the release of Israeli hostages. We have seen the release of Palestinian prisoners. Negotiations on phase 2 of that ceasefire deal, they are due to begin on Monday. Do you think the agreement will move to the next phase?
Well, Donald Trump really rammed this first phase through. I have some confidence because his approach is America first, which means Americans first. And although today Keith Siegel, who's from Chapel Hill, North Carolina, he was released, 65-year-old, brought back into the crying arms of his 3 daughters and his wife. There are 2 more Americans who are believed to be alive who are still there, including one who wouldn't be released until the final phase. So Trump prides himself on delivering. That's what he's all about. And so I do think he's going to do everything he can to deliver.
Mm-hmm. And, of course, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu is heading to Washington to meet US President Donald Trump. What will you be watching for? Short answer, if you would.
Well, I watch for the look on Netanyahu's face because I think it's going to be a nervous smile, not a smile of relief. It's kind of a be careful what you wish for. There's no friendship between Trump and heads of state. It's all fear and flattery. So I would, you know, watch his face carefully. I think that there's a lot at stake here. There's Iran, number one, normalization with Saudi Arabia. Of course, all that depends on how things are resolved with the Palestinians in the West Bank. How do you square that circle? You might just have to call the circle a square.
All right. Middle East analyst Laura Blumenfeld there speaking to us. Thank you so very much.
Thank you.